Welcome to the Kart Rider Drift League Team Finals here for our first preseason. Right now, Kwangdong Freaks with a big lead here. We are in a 3-phase format, right? They have one Phase 1. So Liiv SANDBOX need to win this set of matches. Otherwise, it's going to be a 2-0. Kwangdong Freaks walk away our first Kart Rider Drift champions.
And it would be, on one hand, very sad to not get to Phase 3, where we would get to see King of the Hill, a new format in KDL Preseason. I'm sure many fans are wanting Liiv SANDBOX to take us there.
I would like to see it myself. You know, I'd like to see us go the distance. And so far, we did go the distance. So we're basically doing 2 sets of what would normally be a regular season team matchup. So you have speed into item into ace. We got all 3 of those. By the way, full distance on both speed and item and ace. So a mini version of what we saw with best of 7s between these 2 teams when we played in the winners final. So we might be heading for another set of 5-5 to ace here. And maybe this time, Liiv SANDBOX win the ace match. Because right now, Liiv SANDBOX are struggling in ace matches. They're now 1-4 on the season, whereas 4-0 is the record for Kwangdong Freaks. And World has had their number 3 times in a row now. So something's got to change. And that's the main reason why I was leaning towards Kwangdong Freaks tonight. It's still early days in this finals, but it's a little bit worrisome if you're a Liiv SANDBOX fan.
Yeah, World couldn't get into that top 2 in the solo match finals, but when it comes to the ace matches against Liiv SANDBOX, he has been the kryptonite so far, and you have to assume that Neil, he's probably not going to get any more chances now in the ace matches, and you have to wonder, what is the strategy difference for Liiv SANDBOX now in phase number 2?
That is going to be the question here, as we are going to move into, once again, picks and bans for speed. This time, of course, again, because if you win the first one, you get the pick priority. We'll see Kwangdong Freaks choose speed as their pick priority. We are once again going to Terracotta Twister first. Boostwood will be burned early, banned, out of the pool. Same thing. See if Liiv SANDBOX has something they want to change up here as well. Nope, just really avoiding Desert Construction Chaos.
It's gone exactly how it's gone in Phase 1 so far, and we have to say it's a surprise to see Kwangdong Freaks confidently picking Terracotta Twister, because Liiv SANDBOX won that in Phase 1, and now we see Winding Slopes for Liiv SANDBOX. This is where the difference finally comes in.
Yeah. Winding Slopes, of course, being where we saw that ace match, and now Village Boom Hill Tunnel coming through here for Kwangdong Freaks, a map that we have seen, unfortunately, for Liiv SANDBOX. They haven't been very good at it. They banned it last time. Zigzag Timberland going to be taken off the board here too, unsurprisingly. This time we won't be seeing that.
So that's the difference. Last time we had Zigzag Timberland, but this time it's banned out before Liiv SANDBOX can potentially pick that one up. But once again, it is going to be New York Rally as the 4th ban for Liiv SANDBOX.
I'm guessing we're going to, once again, Glacier here. Yep. Unsurprising. And we'll see what this final track ends up being, because last time it was Bayside Bridge.
Right.
I wonder if Kwangdong wants to change things up here.
Nope. It's Bayside Bridge Run once again.
And I mean, they've been very good at this. It's honestly quite surprising that Liiv SANDBOX have such a poor win rate on this track, considering it really suits their play style, especially with how good they are at starts. But better starts were the case here for Kwangdong so far today. And Insu barely was able to steal his way through item mode to even bring us to the ace match, because otherwise it looked like a pretty dominant performance for Kwangdong Freaks just in general. So we will now, of course, do our item draft one more time to find out where we are heading for item mode, our final item mode of the evening. But half pipe, you know, it lived up to the craziness. It certainly did. We'll see if that one is banned this time, as Liiv SANDBOX can protect one track here. Last time it was London Night. They're very good at this track. I imagine that. Oh,
wow.
That's a huge change up.
Completely different strategy. We have 80% win rate for Kwangdong Freaks on that one, so hopefully there is some big brain move behind that choice.
Icebreaker Pass going to be banned again. We saw Gangnam Streets banned by Kwangdong, and I'm not surprised if we see that again. Has been a track that's been very good for Liiv SANDBOX. Yep.
Once again, the standard bans coming in. So far, only Liiv SANDBOX really changing up the picks, which does make sense, because if you're Guangdong Freaks, you won Phase 1, why would you change anything up?
Okay, we're going to see the same tracks here just in general, but I wonder if Liiv SANDBOX here want to pull out something like the Motherlode that was banned away.
Right.
It doesn't feel like a strong map for me for Liiv SANDBOX. They're going to go to Istanbul. Okay.
They completely ignore London Knight this time because they recognize that Guangdong Freaks was able to beat them previously in Phase 1. And now we see Factory Brody's Gloom coming in as a ban 3. Same for Liiv SANDBOX.
I think Kwangdong should still ban London here.
Oh,
well,
interesting.
They're going to leave it. That's really interesting. It's just such a strong track for Liiv SANDBOX that I just expected that they'd remove it. We're going to see Cogwheel Crush one more time.
Now
it's like, are you going half pipe or are you going London? I say go London. You know, at least it's a track that you're so familiar at. The volatility, the variance is so low, and I always use those two words to describe that track because it is just so messy. It's so difficult to predict, and even if you have advantages, they often are just washed away at the last second. Insu used that to his advantage last time, and they will go to London Knight. So I think this is a better call here for Liiv SANDBOX.
Yeah, it's interesting on one hand, however, because London Knight did go in favor of Guangdong Freaks. Polar Halfpipe Liiv SANDBOX was able to pick it up, but perhaps they recognized that the results were the opposite, but the actual gameplay leading up to it was very shaky, and now they're switching up their strategies. Yeah,
I think that's exactly the thought process. I think you're 100% right about that because they won, but it wasn't off of the back of how they normally win. You know, they got kind of lucky in a lot of ways. And talk about speed here, Terracotta into Winding Slopes, Boom Hill, Extreme Stadium, and Bayside Bridge Run here. So once again, Kwangdong Freaks having the advantage in terms of those additional tracks. Extreme Stadium and Winding Slopes have been good for Liiv SANDBOX in the past. Not so much for the ace match, of course, just now, but we'll see if Liiv SANDBOX can have some better starts here, control the beginning of these races, because it has been Kwangdong Freaks getting early leads each and every time that won them the speed mode last time around.
And we see the fans for Insu and Seungha coming in, cheering on their last dance as it continues here in the KDL Preseason. We are now ready to begin our track number 1 of Phase 2, World Tour Terracotta Twister.
Off we go. Liiv SANDBOX here, trailing behind a whole phase here. See how good of a start they can have on Terracotta Twister as Insu will once again lead the pack here. Yunsu is able to take this narrow path here and then push through Sungbin and World. So it's a 1-2 start here for Liiv SANDBOX. Now, how well can they defend it as Neil also going to aggressively try to push his way through here.
Outside of that, in the 1-2 formation for Liiv SANDBOX, it's pretty uncontestable so far. The Su duos coming in very clutch, and now we see World. He actually took the outer, and he's going to fall back in 5th place.
Yeah, Neil going to be in an awkward spot here in terms of what his position and his job normally is. He doesn't normally play this sweeper role, playing defensively for a 1-2 setup here, but that's the position he's in right now. And Spear, definitely the better player in terms of that matchup, and you can see he's getting the better of Neil right now. And Kwangdong Freaks with a pretty commanding lead here, unless Seungha can actually break through and pass Spear.
Extremely standard first lap, I must say. There wasn't any big collisions that killed momentums completely. Now it is Insu and Hyunsu and Neil. 1-4-5, Liiv SANDBOX holding on to a small little advantage.
Yeah, it's so important here for Insu to hold on to first place. Kwangdong definitely have the better setup otherwise here, but now the 1-2 coming through, and this is when things are getting a little bit crazy here as Insu's going to try to take a more aggressive outer here, but is pushed away.
Whoa,
and this is
Spear.
Nuts. Spear aggressive, but is going to backfire in a big way.
Spear falls down all the way into 8th place, and now you see World, he falls off as well. It's 1-2-3 going over to Liiv SANDBOX.
Oh man,
cool.
Also here, this is the risky build you could take here on the second lap. It is not going to pay off, and now the gap here for Neil and Insu. They could just use the Team Nitro here to close this one out. Spear trying his best. They're trying to draft together, use that synergy, but it's not going to happen. 1-2, easy one-sided here for Liiv SANDBOX, as just like in the previous phase, the players of Kwangdong Freaks are plagued by the inner part of that, I don't know what to call it, but what looks like basically a mine, the inside part of Terracotta Twister where you go indoors in that cave. So big errors made there, trying to take risks and catching up, and Liiv SANDBOX take another win here, 1-2.
That was, I must say, it was KWANGDONGFREECS crumbling one by one like a piece of domino. And at that point for Liiv SANDBOX, it feels like the win was pretty much handed to them. All they had to do was hold on to the 1-2 at the end. Not a great start for KWANGDONGFREECS.
Certainly not, but just the first track here. And, you know, this happened to them last time. They were still able to secure the win in speed mode, so they can definitely bounce back here. They're going to look to do exactly that on Mine Winding Slopes. This is the track pick of Liiv SANDBOX. Can they take a 2-0 lead? Let's find out right now.
Off we go into round number 2 of Speed, and it's actually Kosu holding the best track record, and I haven't heard that name in a while. Let's see if these teams can break it.
Shoutouts to Reboot, as we will see KWANGDONGFREECS with a better start once again here. Time on Winding Slopes, and it's all about these hairpin turns. It's a one-lap track, so there's not a lot of catch-up time here. It's one of the fastest tracks you can finish in Kartrider, and so as a result, the lead that KWANGDONGFREECS have right now is going to be very difficult to break, especially because when you have a 3-player lead like this in 1, 2, 3, breaking into top 2 is almost impossible because Cool is going to be able to create some collisions no matter what. Like, this looks fairly doomed right out of the start here. It's so difficult to pass now as Hyunsu because it's such a narrow track with so many turns. World dropping behind, but again, it's the 1, 2, 3 that really matters. Hyunsu is at least going to break in there, but Spear gonna push him away.
Hyunsu completely gets thrown offline. Now it's all up to Seungha to try to pass the defense of Spear, but there's still a dominant 1-2 for KWANGDONGFREECS.
Last few hairpins here. This is where we saw essentially the concede. Seungha aggressively using the walls here to his advantage. Pretty sick here.
Seungha, he did manage to break that 1-2, but his teammates got to catch up because it's still 1-3-4. 1-2-3 for KWANGDONGFREECS, finishing off in a dominating fashion.
Yeah, not even close for a moment. And this is the track pick for Liiv SANDBOX, and they just got absolutely dominated out of the gates here. And you could tell based on the start of how Insu wanted to cut aggressively, get an early nitro, and push through with that boost to try to look for that 1-2-4 setup that they've been so successful with. Neil comes up into the 4th place spot, then he's creating disruption. They totally botch it. Cool gets ahead early, and it's no surprise, by the way, that he beats Kosu's record. It's barely, but with how dominant this performance was for Cool, Sungbin, and Spear, with how ahead they were the entire time, completely uncontested, it's just not a shocker. And it's just so hard to break through on this track if you fall behind. If you have a bad start, why'd you pick the track? You know, is the question going through Liiv SANDBOX fans' minds right now, as we have had both teams who've chosen the track now losing on their track pick. We'll see if that trend continues, but we are tied up 1-1.
The fact that Spear did not even have to think about sweeping, all he wanted to do was hold on to that 3rd position, speaks volumes. World, he tried to go for some collisions there, but he couldn't get it, and he fell behind, and we thought this is where Hyunsu might do it.
Yeah, and then Hyunsu, Spear blocks him out there, and he tries to take a more aggressive line, hits that pillar. At the end of the track, it's just nobody's even close. Neil, the only one nearby, but even if he gets first there, they have a 2-3-4 setup. It's donezo. Just a super one-sided win here for the side of KWANGDONGFREECS. Now tied up 1 apiece. The winner of this will move on to match point here in our 2nd iteration of Team Speed on Village, Bloom Hill Tunnel. Off we go here, and once again the start is so important. Insu, this is the kind of aggressive cutting he is looking for. He wasn't successful last time around, but this time he's going to get that early lead. Great starts from this guy. This time in particular, it's going to be so important.
Right, Bloom Hill Tunnel is a favorite track for KWANGDONGFREECS. They are super good at this track. Every single one of their members know how to play around it. We see Spear locking out Seungha's line, now going up into 4th place.
Insu, I mean, he had a great start here, but the rest of his team just isn't able to keep up at the moment. You could see Neil and Hyunsu are getting blocked out here. Spear is just such a good sweeper, man. I mean, I really think he's the best in the KDL. And you can just see how he both blocks his opponents but recovers some of the collisions so well that he actually gains advantages and is then continuing to threaten further. Players like Insu here is the only one in top 4 right now. And that's why the observers are highlighting Spear here. Look at the sweeping. He's actually now going to overtake Insu and they get a 1-2-3. This is super one-sided.
Right now, it's Spear looking to hold that third place, blocking Insu out yet again. Now, Hyunsu trying to come in and take some weaving lines here, and he's fortunately not going to crash into a box, but it's still 1-2-3 for Gwangdong.
Yeah, Hyunsu here catching some of these collisions. Spear pushing through. This is just not even close. KWANGDONGFREECS.
Spear, my goodness. The sweeping was absolutely on point. The style points on point as well. Going for, again, a spin turn into the finish line.
I think that the way that we're seeing Liiv SANDBOX get outmatched here is really just about the early formations, the control that Spear is having. And Liiv SANDBOX has often been a team where players like Neil and Insu, even in team speed, another record is broken here. Cool, gonna pass World this time around, his teammate. But the way that we're seeing Liiv SANDBOX oftentimes come back on these tracks is later on, where Neil does something really cool with his Nitro economy, or Insu is able to take this aggressive outer line. But on one-lap tracks, it seems doomed because the track is so short, you don't have a lot of opportunities, and these back-to-back one-lap tracks we just watched, KWANGDONGFREECS got early leads, and then Spear, I mean, it's all about him, you know? He's just so fantastic. He has been all season long. We've seen some of the flashiest and coolest plays out of him this entire season. I think he's one of the big standouts for me and everybody who's watched this entire season. Is like, where did this guy come from? He's just so out of control good.
Absolutely. Spear looking to continue some of that dominance. He loves that third place, fourth place position, but now we are ready for track number 4, Glacier Extreme Stadium. Off we go. Insu from Liiv SANDBOX holding the best track record, and also Liiv SANDBOX picked this track themselves. Hopefully they're able to tie the score at 2-2.
They're also 2-0 against KWANGDONGFREECS in particular on this track, winning against them both times just in our previous phase as well as in the winners finals. Right now, it's a much better start here for Liiv SANDBOX numbers-wise here. Let's see if Seunghan and Neil could actually survive Spear here. They've gotten a pretty decent lead, and Spear trying to use that Nitro to actually come up and attack isn't going to connect here. And this is the amount of distance you really want to keep between yourself and Spear here as Liiv SANDBOX. Great first lap.
Whoa, Spear, but he comes in hot. Once again, taking in the line for that 5th place position. Now, it's 1-3 being held by Liiv SANDBOX.
Who sweeps the sweepers? Seunghan is trying his best to actually create a lot of disruption here onto Spear, but he just will not be stopped. As Neil and Hyunsu still controlling this. Hyunsu going to try to push Sungbin back here. Here comes Spear just behind. And I mean, right now, still the numbers game favoring Liiv SANDBOX here. Spear, if he's not able to get that defensive setup, his attacks aren't as effective. As you can see, he's trying his best here, and he has been relentless. But Seunghan's getting the better end of the deal.
Right, now we see Hyunsu trying to take out Sungbin from the picture to secure the 1-2, but it's going to be Sungbin who takes the outer and recovers. Now, so 1-3-4 for Liiv SANDBOX. Spear doing all he can.
That was a really nice play from Spear. What? He's
Spear
actually going to push his way through here. And he had to commit only 1 Nitro to do this, and he's actually now going to contest here for 2-3. And suddenly, just like that, KWANGDONGFREECS in the race here, but we're still on our final lap. Can he actually push the 1-2? 500 meters to go.
They just need to bully Neil out. Sungbin and Spear looking for the 1-2. But it's
not gonna
Neil.
Be enough. It's not going to be enough.
Yeah, that was not enough. Liiv SANDBOX taking a 3-point advantage. It was so crucial that Neil was able to defend against 2 members of KWANGDONGFREECS there.
Yeah, he defended so well, and it looked like maybe there was going to be an option there where they actually push him out. He almost is knocked off the track there as we go on off of the final jump there before you reach the finish line, but he handled it so extremely well. Another record is set tonight in these finals. This just keeps happening. We are seeing these players play to their peak right now. The highest level of competition you expect in a matchup like this. The ability to set a record is almost 0 because your opponent's playing so well against you. How could you be setting records? But both teams are really just breaking limits here in our preseason. And once again, we are going to go to the final 5th track here. You see the fans are feeling the pressure as these players are. And Neil, man, watch him block this out. Sungbin and Spear making this final push through. He collides with Sungbin here and is able to take this inner. Collides with him again to prevent the pass. So beautifully played. Awareness from Neil.
Yep, MVP definitely Neil for Liiv SANDBOX this time around, prolonging their chances in speed mode. And we keep saying it, Liiv SANDBOX, they got to win speed against GWANGDONGFREECS if they want a chance.
Certainly do. This is going to come down to one final track here of speed mode. Once again, Village, Bayside Bridge Run. The fifth and final track of speed mode here in our second phase is Spear and Insu battling it out for first here, but Insu getting the better end of things.
And it's GWANGDONGFREECS as a team with 100% win rate, Liiv SANDBOX with 0%, so a lot of pressure on their shoulders to prove that they can actually beat GWANGDONGFREECS here.
Spear having an advantage right now in terms of that Nitro for just a moment here, is trying to push his way into first and will do so. Is still going to hold on to that Nitro advantage right now. Insu cutting back and forth here, trying to make sure that no attacks can collide with him. And cool tries. Insu is actually holding on to first place defensively so incredibly well right now. Now, World will pass him, but the numbers advantage still goes to Liiv SANDBOX here. Spear.
Yeah, Insu, he's able to maintain that lead. Now it's a 1-3-4 for Liiv SANDBOX. And Spear, if he's the only guy up here, it's going to be troublesome. We see Cool and World trying to make a recovery.
Neil doing the Neil build here on the outer. Insu did this previously, and man, Spear is doing his best, but he's just not able to actually compete here. He pulls back now, and Liiv SANDBOX look like they're going to change the narrative here this time around in speed mode. They have total control right now. I say this now, Cool and Sungbin trying to take this inner here and push aggressively forward, but look at the sweeping here from Hyunsu.
My goodness, Hyunsu is on point right now, completely locking out the back line of GWANGDONGFREECS. 1-2 being held smoothly by Insu and Seungha.
And this is an opportunity here now for Cool and Spear, trying to use that draft to actually push through World now as well. But we're getting to the final part of this lap here, and it just doesn't look like they're going to be able to pass Hyunsu, man. His sweeping has been good. He's just forcing collisions here. Look at him. He's just like, yeah, run into me, run into the wall. I don't care. Number one, number two, that's my teammates. Insu and Seungha, the last dancing players. Final cuts here around the corner, and Liiv SANDBOX will this time take speed mode and go up 1-0 in Phase 2.
We did it. We got the picture-perfect last dance for Insu and Seungha coming in as the 1-2 for Liiv SANDBOX. I feel like it's been a while since we've seen that.
It really has. And I think the momentum is shifting slightly here to Liiv SANDBOX in a lot of ways. Remember, this is a track that they have not looked good on at all as well, and coming up big on it when it matters most here. And say what you will as another track record comes through. Say what you will about Insu's performances, his nerves, but his starts in each and every track have been fantastic. Sometimes it's just him, but it needs to be his team and him. But this time when they had the full setup and Hyunsu was able to block for Insu and Seungha, it was incredible what Liiv SANDBOX was able to put together. And I feel like 4 of those 5 tracks were very one-sided, actually. And it was really just about getting the start and the setup you're looking for with the 1-2-4. As Spear, I mean, he made it competitive, but unfortunately, Hyunsu just kept the rest of his team out. Look at plays like this, where you're basically 1v2 blocking 2 players out and creating these annoying collisions.
Yeah, and it forced GWANGDONGFREECS to take the outer there, which resulted in another collision into the wall and into each other. So Liiv SANDBOX, they were absolutely on point for that track number 5, bringing us to the item mode, finally with Liiv SANDBOX being ahead.
So we'll take a look at our item tracks again very briefly before we go into this, as we do have some pretty big change-ups. But it is now time for Liiv SANDBOX here to solidify themselves and bring us to that King of the Hill. Going to Magma Cavern first this time. We are not going to see Polar Halfpipe. It's London Night for Liiv SANDBOX picked last year, wasn't banned away. And they're bringing in Istanbul Sunset Plaza, a very rarely seen track coming through, as we will have once again Mushroom Caves and Cogwheel Crush. So KWANGDONGFREECS not changing it up at all.
Istanbul Sunset Plaza is definitely the biggest change that we've seen in the item track list here. In Phase 2 so far, I wonder how that one's going to go, because round 3 feels like such a pivotal spot where momentum can really shift for either teams.
Yeah. I wonder what the plan is going to be, because Istanbul Sunset Plaza usually a much more open item track where it's really just a battle of tossing in those nitros and magnets at the final moment. Unlike, you know, tracks like Cogwheel Crush, London Night, where it's more specific to timing, or Half Pipe as well, where, you know, you really want to get onto that high ground and play around that.
Oh, Banana cheering on Insu and Seungha from the crowd.
Love to see it. Coming to support more Kart Rider players here. We've got a full crowd tonight for our first KDL preseason finals. Let's go into item mode here for Phase 2 on my Magma Cavern. Off we go. KWANGDONGFREECS leading in phases, but Liiv SANDBOX wins speed here in the second phase. And as we move into item, they have an opportunity now with 3 wins here to bring us to that King of the Hill. As we're going to see Seungha and Jimin for Liiv SANDBOX here pushing up, giving them a slight edge there in top 3.
Right, we're seeing a lot of UFOs and bananas being exchanged at this point, I must say.
Banana willed it.
Yeah, the spiciest bananas watching the crowd, our team trying their best to impress him.
Very difficult to get value out of that barricade, but we have seen it happen with timings there. Is World going to shield this water balloon, water bomb very well here, and he's going to hold first place as Seungha is also holding on to that Magnet Rush combo here. See Spear as well has a magnet, and so that's a huge bubble.
We're seeing World absorbing a lot of aggro right now in the first place, trying to utilize his shield. I'm sure he's going to cycle through that real soon. Right there, it's going to get cycled out.
Yeah. So Spear here, another challenger now for that top spot.
Oh, kind of crazy.
What looked a little bit crazy to spin out into the missile, so a lot of abuse being taken there. But as we move into this final lap here shortly, Insu just straight up drives into him, pushes him off the side there. Definitely could have been avoided, but speaking of things that could have been avoided, it's all right. We're still now finally in this third lap. A lot of magnets stacked up. It is going to be about the usage here. In terms of inventory, right now, KWANGDONGFREECS definitely with the edge.
Yeah, Spear had a nice block there, preventing the SANDBOX from picking up the item, but the water bomb, man.
That is huge. As Seungha is holding on to 2 items, he's going to get UFO'd here. 2 magnets, that is to say, and see if he pops one here early. He's actually going to get caught with the missile. He needs to pop these now. One is going to be used here, but KWANGDONGFREECS just in complete control. They had the inventory advantage. Storm, though, the lightning coming out. It's going to be blocked. Angel is good. Insu, though, can he get pulled back?
Oh, the water bomb is going to catch out the members of KWANGDONGFREECS, and it's Insu and Hyunsu. The Soo duos coming in clutch.
The Angel usage there coming through at the last possible second, blocking the lightning, and then another one comes through to allow him to push through. There were some serious water bombs connecting, though, on both sides, and it was hard to know at the very end who was going to take it. You could look at inventories, you could look at who has magnets, all you want, but if these keep connecting, these AoE hits hitting practically the whole team every time, it just doesn't necessarily matter. Look at the amount of attacks we had here, 17 as well, coming across the board there for Liiv SANDBOX to actually push this one through. Successful attacks with all those water bombs, really big. And now we're moving into Forest Mushroom Caves. This is, of course, the map pick of Kwangdong. But Liiv SANDBOX starting things off with a bang. They were more successful in item mode last time around, albeit by a single track, and albeit by the hair of the chin of Insu. But here we are in our final 200 meters here. This is a bomb that hits everybody, but Hyunsu has the Angel here. Insu also with the activation of the Angel gets through the bomb faster, and the two of them will finish the race.
What a nice teamwork there from Liiv SANDBOX. Perfect utilization of that Angel as well as boost. It was well deserved. And honestly, Magma Cavern, this was a switch up from Liiv SANDBOX coming into item mode, and it's worked out for them. They're leading out right now 1-0. Track number 2 is going to be Forest Mushroom Caves. Again, our item round number 2. We see 80% win rate for Liiv SANDBOX and 50% for Kwangdong.
Cool going to come up with nothing but nitro with his item grab here. Will use both and then pick up another set on his way back up into top 4. You can see him holding into 3 here. Early magnet popped.
Right, we're seeing double shield for Hyunsu, so we're going to see him move up to the top, try to absorb some aggro. There's a water bomb.
Yeah, this is a 2-lap track where it kind of oscillates between narrow choke points and wider areas like this one. So water bomb usage is very critical on these narrow choke points. That's where you see these aiming coming through like this on the item boxes and then going into the bridge. And this is one where the magnet combo is not as strong, obviously, and Cool holding on to 2 shields right now and pulling a pretty big lead. I mean, no one can really stop him without a UFO right now, and yeah, it's just now the 2nd lap, but look at that distance here. They're going to have to try to use aggressive items like this Angel to try to catch up here. Shield block from Spear, and Cool gets to hold both shields here. And now Spear, I mean, with a Lightning coming through, it's going to force another Angel. This war of attrition definitely going in Cool's favor here. Now, 1 shield burned already. There's the UFO, and the UFO is basically the reason why it's hard to do this strategy, because you cannot block that with shield.
Yeah, if an EMP was available, that
like the one he has
huge.
now. Yeah, it's so sad. He
a bit too late.
Yeah, but now he's got double shield again. He's hoping for no UFO to come through this time.
And he uses one of them to block out a missile. World and Cool in the lead now. GWANGDONGFREECS with the stronger positions.
That was a big banana right there. And now he's got a booster here on top of that shield. And Magnet's so far away here. Insu is so far back. He's trying for it.
He only has a shield. Hyunsu cannot close the distance, and it's Spear who's able to come in to the finish line like a blazing spear.
Yeah, nobody able to stop him, and unfortunately for Liiv SANDBOX, they just didn't have anybody up there. Cool dominated for so long, ends up getting 8th place here when those magnets come through, but ultimately his job was to burn all of those items early so that there was no one to target the magneting players, his teammates. And yeah, he gets left in the dust when everyone pulls out magnets, but he did his job. He played up with those Angels coming through early, and he had the double shield to just block all of those items that he absorbed basically all of the pressure. Now we're tied up 1 apiece here for these 2 teams in item mode.
Definitely GWANGDONGFREECS. They're trying all they can to once again bring us to that 5th round. It would be crazy if we have every single one of these phases go down all the way to the maximum round possible.
I mean, it's starting to feel like it's fate at this point for these 2 teams. You know,
the rivalries.
The rivalry is there. 3 back-to-back finals before this, the 4th in a row. KWANGDONGFREECS looking for their first win here in a championship. We're moving into World Tour now. Istanbul Sunset Plaza, the wild card map pick in this round. Off we go, and Liiv SANDBOX, they really threw a spanner in the works with this one. We'll see what their plan is going to be. It's a very rare track here, but as you can already see, extremely open. Not a whole lot of choke points here, not a whole lot of terrain to use. There is that, of course, fountain you have to avoid halfway through the lap, but beyond that, it's pretty much just smooth sailing. It's about item usage and aggressive attack, so that shield meta we've seen rise up is going to be very strong here. And you can already see it, 4 shields.
Yeah, in other words, what you're saying, Wolf, is that we don't know who's going to win this one. Stats don't matter. Each game is different in Istanbul.
Yeah, 100%. It's a different kind of volatility than half-pipe, but it's high volatility in that it's really just going to be about who stacks those items. Now, all those shields are already burned here. EMP held for Sungbin for the UFO. Just going to just toss it out. Ooh, that banana almost getting some friendly fire.
Sneaky little banana being placed down. Now we're seeing 1-2 being held by GWANGDONGFREECS. We are in the 2nd lap, so plenty of time for players to pick up more magnets. Yeah,
World just being annoying and trying to create some collisions there, looking for the homing wisp as well. And Cool pulls up pretty massively ahead right now with Sungbin to also help block for him.
EMP.
He's got an EMP and an Angel, so catching up to him is going to be kind of a pain. Now, Sunga trying to play aggressively here to create some disruption without actually using any items. I actually love that play from him, just using his cart alone.
Yep, getting some sick blocks in. Now, Cool and Spear, once again, they recovered their lead. We're seeing so many Angels, the defensive capabilities being heavily prioritized.
Now, even though I said it's technically weaker here, the Magnet Nitro combo can be quite strong if you have a straight shot. And Insu, when you're in first place holding those items, it's going to be nice. Now, Cool, once again, going to the right side here, will be forced to use the Angel, the team will, for this Lightning coming through. Insu caught by UFO and the bomb here. Let's see if he actually uses that Magnet now. We're getting to the final part of this lap. If he targets Cool here in this wide open space, it's going to be hard to block. There's the UFO. Might want to wait for a target here onto World. And there he goes.
Yep, Insu, he's going to get targeted by a Magnet right now. The other members trying to do some catch up. Insu, he's in the lead and he's still got the Magnet Rush combo.
Yeah, he still has the combo. He's also got an Angel on top of him. World here may be the target. May not even need it. Insu could swap. Wisp coming through, forcing out that shield. He's getting pulled back by the Magnet. Here's a Lightning though. Angel blocks it. Final moments here for Insu.
Now Insu, he's going to pop his combo. We're seeing Hyunsu try to come in, but excellently
the
blocked.
rocket! It won't matter, Sungbin is going to take it in the end.
My goodness, that went back and forth and back and forth.
It really did. I thought for sure we'd see Insu just pull the Magnet out early to try to get some additional distance, but he was just so calm. He was so ready to wait for that exact moment where you called out the combo being used, but missile comes through, then a second missile comes through, the water bomb is blocked, but Sungbin is able to push through. I hope we get a replay of Sungbin's angle that he took there, because I'm not entirely sure how he was able to rocket through or what items he was holding, because my focus was on, does Insu do it or not? And our observers were also tracking that, but it's Sungbin who ultimately is able to push through and take that win. He's been so critical for Kwangdong Freaks in item mode, had 9 of their wins. We pointed this stat out earlier. He is the guy who plays essentially like an item ace for them, even though he isn't designated as such. So let's watch this again.
So this is where Hyunsu got blocked out by Spearless. Excellent, but the missile comes in. And now it's Sungbin from the outer just coming in with this combo.
Yeah, I believe he had Insu targeted, so was able to get a lot of extra momentum there from the Nitro with his Magnet. And it's hard to say because it was off camera, but I believe that's what happened. And all of the chaos just gave him an opportunity.
Yeah, and now Kwangdong Freeks is leading out 2-1. So if they win track number 4, that means we are going to an ace match. So Factory Cogwheel Crush is where it's going to happen. Let's see who takes this one. Here we go into item round number 4. We're seeing Seungha slowing down along with Spear to pick up some high-value items.
Will be an Angel coming out here. Cool just going to toss out his EMP. Wants to get some better items here. Will Shield as well, something that came through. He gets double EMP. He's like, can I just get some good items, please? I would like to have some strong items. As Hyunsu will get caught here by this missile as he tries to jump down to low ground. And now finally Cool is at least holding that double shield setup here. We'll use one early.
Yep, he instantly double tapped the EMPs away. Not a single one kept. And now we're seeing another EMP picked up by Cool. Man, he's loving that EMP.
He really is. And the second he gets rid of it, by the way, the irony is he is then caught by a UFO. The guy's just like, give me a break here. It's the finals. This is really important. And I'm not getting lucky at all. Now he's got his own UFO. He's going to use it on Hyunsu right in front of him. But Hyunsu actually blocks him perfectly, man. We're just watching Cool have the worst track of his life right now in terms of RNG here, as well as a really good block there coming out. Now we're going to see what's picked up here as we move into our final lap here. Good avoid there, some deceleration to avoid that water bomb. And World now holding that Magnet Rush combo in first place, but he's not alone. Spears holding one too. So Kwangdong Freeks in a really good spot here to bring us to the ace match as we move to the final part of this final lap.
Everyone's got a Magnet pretty much, so it's going to be key to see how these players bait it out, because somebody like World in the front is going to try to get the Magnet targeting, but then Spear or Sungbin could just speed off into the finish.
It's mutually assured magnets. That's what I like to call this. Everybody's like, I'm launching my Magnet, you're launching your Magnet. We're all going to try to cross the finish line, and we're getting very close to that moment now here.
Sungbin, however, he's holding on to a sneaky little UFO, and there's no EMP, so that is pretty concerning.
Okay, you can see the central path taken here from Spear. Wants to get a good angle here, and Angel's out. Pull on the Magnet here. He's being pulled back here, but he gets the high ground, and he's able to rocket over the barricades, and that is going to be Spear taking it in beautiful position there. Observers called it out. Susie took the middle path there. They knew he was going to try to bounce on the high ground and pull over there. And Spear is bringing us to another ace match here. KWANGDONGFREECS will, for the first time since the postseason started, not be going the full sets either. Just closing it out early to bring us to ace.
It was definitely highly possible that we'll go to round 5, but the chain has been broken. So now the question is, Liiv SANDBOX, they've already lost Phase 1 ace match using Neil. Who's their player now at this point?
I think you've got to trust Hyunsu. You do not want to put Insu in for this one. I just think you absolutely do not do it. I mean, this is the conversation. Like, this is literally live on camera here. The Liiv SANDBOX coach coming over being like, Insu, it's your last dance. Do you want to earn it? Do you want to earn that King of the Hill right now? I want to give you the opportunity to stand up and say, yes, I'm going to earn it. It's going to be off the back of me. Spear with a fantastic play here, bouncing up onto the high ground there, using that magnet, the perfect angle, getting max value. But if you're Insu here, you're like, okay, well, this is do or die. Like, if my team carries me to a win here, is it really my last dance? I mean, he did have some fantastic item modes in the first phase, but I'd say I trust Hyunsu if you're looking for a victory. If you want to earn it as Insu and you want to say, no, coach, give me the chance, you pick it up there. I think for KWANGDONGFREECS, you're happy to play cool. World already did his part, but I think you're happy to play World as well, given his history against multiple players on this roster. I feel like KWANGDONGFREECS have such an edge here, and if World is the one to do it, I mean, that's just it. The finals is over. KWANGDONGFREECS take this. We don't even get to see that King of the Hill all-kill format.
Look at Cool, though. He looks like he means business, getting focused already. You have to wonder if it means something.
They might be baiting us. They might be tricking us. As I think both World and Cool are great options. On the side of Liiv SANDBOX, hard to say. Neil on the ground here, so don't think it's going to be him. But after failing once already, twice really historically against KWANGDONGFREECS, you have to imagine they're not feeling confident putting him in, especially after going 0-3 last night.
Whoa.
Failing the ace, and Terracotta Twister is going to be our track.
Another tricky one. These ace matches are not allowed to be easy here in KDL Preseason. We want skill versus skill, volatility versus volatility.
Oh, this is a tough track. I mean, this is where you could really set yourself apart, prove yourself as a fantastic solo 1v1 racer. I'm feeling Worlds coming out, and they're going to do it. They're pulling out Insu. The last dance here for this guy. They're going to say, yes, Insu, you can earn us that opportunity in King of the Hill. You can bring us back. I'm not going to lose this season. I'm not going to let it go without giving you one final shot at World. One chance for revenge, as World's taken him down already. That's why KWANGDONGFREECS have the advantage. That's why they were red side going into this, as he was defeated last time they faced off. World is undefeated against Liiv SANDBOX in ace matches, and he could extend that streak right now and take the first title KWANGDONGFREECS has had as an organization in Kartrider if he can win this 1v1 race on Terracotta Twister, the iconic track that we've seen first all season long, the track that these teams have played more than any other track. It all comes down to this.
And Insu looks so focused there, not even minding the camera at all. We are now ready to bring you guys an ace match of phase number 2 in World Tour Terracotta Twister.
Our second ace match of the night here. World with an aggressive cut here already off the start. It is World against Insu, the rematch here. And KWANGDONGFREECS, one more ace match win against Liiv SANDBOX, business as usual, and they are our first preseason champions. Insu, he's got to have nerves right now. Everybody wants to see this guy do well. He's got so many fans cheering for him. He's cracked under the pressure before. We'll see if it happens tonight and what could be his last race of his career.
We're seeing very different lines being taken by World and Insu right now, and it is paying off for World so far, maintaining a nice little lead. This is the part of Terracotta Twister where things do change up.
And we've seen World make, specifically on this track, many errors today in speed mode, but in this 1v1, that is not coming to pass as he maintains a slight nitro lead here and is just playing defensively around Insu's angles. Insu just trying to stay in draft range here and take some more aggressive inners to catch up, but World playing very well defensively here. There is going to be an opportunity here at the end of this lap here as we move into that, rather the first part of this lap, for World to take an aggressive inner. He's blocked out.
Yeah, Insu had a fantastic block there. He was able to come into the line of World, and now World is trying to recover, but Insu, he has a very sizable lead right now. The Nitros are pretty evenly matched.
All right, now this is where it gets scary for World, because inside, of course, the middle of the lap is where he struggled most in the team matches here. Now he's behind a little bit in terms of Nitro. Look at that inner, though. He actually does it. Spins it back here into first place and builds up a huge lead. Insu, everything on the line right now. Here we go. Now in the inner portion of this track, the midway point. Oh, and World pushed him into the wall, trying to create a collision here, trying to knock him off the track.
Insu trying to do the same to get in the line of World, but it didn't work out. World with fantastic blocking right now.
Oh, this is insane. 500 meters to go. Insu, last dance, last chance here, but he is just too far behind. Can he do it? He's going to have to do it. He can't do it. He can't do it. World is going to do it again. Nobody can stop this guy, and KWANGDONGFREECS in another ace match win are going to be your KDL Preseason 1 champions. The first time KWANGDONGFREECS as an organization can say, we are champions after battling rivals 3 finals in a row and coming up empty. Second place, second place, second place. Not tonight. They will defeat old rivals. They will stop the last dance. And World, man, 4-0 against this team. He holds up the KWANGDONGFREECS logo, and they are champions.
KWANGDONGFREECS absolutely continuing on their momentum in KDL Preseason 1. They've had such a phenomenal showing, coming in as the first seed and once again being able to close out a clean victory against such a massive giant like Liiv SANDBOX.
You've got a feel for Insu. He was given the opportunity. So much pressure on this guy. It has been ever since he announced that he will be essentially retiring after his 2-year military service. And he's been put in this position now twice. The first time he failed. The second time, you know, the next time he was an ace match opportunity, of course, against Aura, he wasn't played. They went with Hyunsu instead because of his nerves. And Hyunsu came up big. This time they gave him one last opportunity to have that last dance, and he comes up short. But for KWANGDONGFREECS, man, the story of how much this team grew and improved and how quickly they have gotten a great grasp on Kartrider Drift has just been, it's been fun to watch. And both cool having his moment in solos yesterday, and now, even though it could have been cool, they gave World a chance to say, no, you just keep beating this team. They play him again. He defeats Insu again. It's just all coming up KWANGDONG right now here in Kartrider Drift.
We were absolutely focused on Jung as the ace match player before we got into the playoffs, but ever since we got to the playoffs, it just feels like World is absolutely unbeatable. When he has a lead, he is so consistent with the blocks and sticking to the right lines.
Yeah. So now with 2 ace match wins, KWANGDONGFREECS are still perfect, by the way. They finished the season 5-0 in ace matches, and Liiv SANDBOX will end it 1-5. So the difference maker here really ended up being ace matches. I hinted at that because of how close these two teams played in winners finals and how good we know both of these teams are. So I thought if ace match is going to be the deciding factor, I definitely lean towards KWANGDONGFREECS. I didn't know it was going to happen that way, but especially in this final ace match, I mean, it was clutch. I mean, World really earned it. It was not easy. Insu actually was able to take back control there in that final moment, but lost it in the inner parts of that second lap, or right before he went to the inner parts there. And Insu, he really worked. Like, he almost was able to retake it, but every step of the way, World was so good defensively. Neither player had any big errors.
Yeah.
There was not a mistake. There was, both Nitro builds were basically perfect. It was just World taking better lines and playing defensively when he had those leads.
And sadly, the last dance has now finished for Liiv SANDBOX and Insu and Seungha. But we must give props because they've done so well so far in KDL Preseason 1. They're definitely going out in our hearts remembered as some of the GOATs in Kartrider Drift.
And I think we are going to have a pretty crazy offseason between, Preseason 1 and Preseason 2. Preseason 2 will be starting soon. You guys will see the exact date very soon. We're about to announce it. But I think we're going to have a crazy offseason because those players have to get replaced on Liiv SANDBOX. And they have the funds and the means to get some good players. Let's take a look at today's overall results and remind everybody, of course, of what happened today. This was Phase 1.
Yep, and it was 3-2, 2-3, going all the way into that round number 5. But it was ultimately Guangdong Freaks with World on the back of his phenomenal performance, taking that ace match.
Yeah, really great performances from World. And I love that the Kwangdong Freaks coach, CDS, he was just like, no, I'm going to put World in and not Cool, even though Cool dominated yesterday. We might face Neil. They did face Neil. So now both Cool and World have dominated Neil in these critical finals. And Kwangdong just so confident there. I love that they were able to do that and just stick to their guns, especially in the second one where they had a whole extra King of the Hill to play if they lost. So this was, of course, Phase 1, and it did live up to the winners finals, right? 5-5 going to that 11th match here. This time, Kwangdong Freaks cutting it short on item and then bringing us to the ace match where we had, once again, a much closer ace, I would say, but ultimately World still able to take it.
Yeah, Phase 2 went completely differently. Liiv SANDBOX, they were able to win speed instead of item this time, but ace match, there was no difference maker there. Kwangdong Freaks getting a clean 2-0 sweep here today in the finals for team matches, and no King of the Hill to be seen.
Yeah, well, I think that the all-kill format, we'll see it again at some point. Maybe it'll happen next season. Maybe it'll happen in our first regular season of KDL after the preseasons are done. But, you know, it was a cool format change that we've had to make things a little bit more hype, a little more exciting, and a little bit more involving of all of the teams instead of a 1v1 deciding the whole final. So I do like the format change, and I'm hoping we bring it back, and I think we will, and see why we wouldn't. But not going to get to see it tonight, unfortunately. And, you know, we do have, of course, Liiv SANDBOX playing their last season with this roster, and we will see some changes, right, going to next season. I wonder who they will get in terms of players that are available to come through, because you have players like Ding, right? You have Luning, who are very good and I think still have a lot of potential to grow. And Liiv SANDBOX as an organization across all these sports, not just Kartrider, are pretty good at fostering new talent and turning it into something that's amazing. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of these lesser-known players get picked up by them rather than some of the top-tier talent you could see on Rocks or Aura.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see now that Guangdong Freaks was able to win without an item ace. Is that going to affect the decision-making of some of these teams? Are they also going to decide to not have an item ace, but rather focus on having a 4-man star-studded lineup that can be really versatile with the runners and the sweepers? They can do all that fantastically.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say. I think that with Kwangdong Freaks, I mean, half of the entire league is item mode, right? And they did it without an item ace. They proved that Sungbin can perform as one. You know, Jimin, oppositely, has performed incredibly well in the solo tournament. So, you know, he has also showed that even though I'm the item guy, outside of item mode, I'm also a multifaceted player. I think having that additional player is going to be kind of up to the roster and up to the coaching staff and how they want to use them. And when you have an incredible coach like Kwangdong Freaks does, you know, maybe the strategy that goes into it and the team planning and how long these players have been together, how long they've worked together, makes it a lot easier to actually make those plays. Like Sungbin coming into this roster, by the way, as the newest player of Kwangdong Freaks, who was on DFI Blades slash Hanwha Life Esports before this. He came in somewhat new, but then ended up filling that role as a pseudo item ace so incredibly well that you could just tell the coaching staff, and CDS in particular, is really good at bringing these players together. And I've seen him talk to other teams as well. He gets very close with the Liiv SANDBOX players. I've seen him talking to some of the Rocks players. Seems to be somebody who's really ingrained in the Kartrider scene. So on the side of Kwangdong, I don't expect that they're going to try to pick up an item ace. I expect they're going to keep their roster the same as much as they can, as long as the players agree to stay on for another season at least, because this team really does have something magical and special.
Yeah, this is the roster that finally broke that curse for Guangdong Freaks, not being able to take the grand finals victory, especially struggling against Liiv SANDBOX. This rivalry, it goes back a long time, but especially in 2022 Kartrider League Super Cup, that's when they lost against Liiv SANDBOX twice in the finals. Here in the KDL, they're making new history.
They are. And while in terms of history, you know, this is not going to be one that you put in your trophy case because it is a preseason. You're not going to have that one, you know, on your Namu Wiki page where it says, like, you lift the trophy. There's not going to be the trophy kiss shot there. But no one can take this away from Kwangdong ever. And I think having that momentum of being a champion of a preseason, which is not the same as being the champion of a KL or a KDL, is still going to be something that gives this team additional momentum. And now that they've proven that they could beat the best Liiv SANDBOX roster, the Liiv SANDBOX roster, like the ultimate 5-man with Neil, with Jimin, right, and the Suduo, it's like I've already beaten this team. Now they're going to be a weaker team in the following seasons. I mean, potentially they could grow, right? They could make a stronger roster, a bigger super team, but it seems like it's going to take time, right?
Yeah, the time, the teamwork.
But as Kwangdong, you're like, well, I've already beaten the hardest one, and now they're getting weaker, so I should be able to continue to win this. We're now going to have our ceremony here for our finalists here at the KDL Preseason 1. Of course, here to give the awards is going to be Sungkae, the Korean commentator and main MC, someone I've worked with for a long time, a true consummate professional.
Yep. Definitely, Sungkae has been around in the esports scene for a long time. And so has Kart Rider. You know, it started with Kart Rider League, now evolving into Kart Rider Drift League, and we are making new history.
First, we will award the runner-up, Liiv SANDBOX, here with their check here, 20 million won. You know, you can look up your exchange rate on exactly what that means, but you can imagine about $20,000 in terms of what it means here in the Korean economy, and still a lot of money for this roster. But as you see, faces here trying to smile but holding the emotions in, because it has been a tough night here for Liiv SANDBOX, and it's been a tough run through postseason, not the dominant performance that we're used to. Neil comes over here too, gets an embrace from his teammate, and it's a tough loss to take, and this is the last time you will see these players, these 5 superstars, standing together on the stage together as a one-team roster.
And especially for Insu and Seungha, they know this could be one of their last times ever getting to stand in front of their fans. And it must be heartbreaking, but they are putting on the game face. They are not losing it at all.
Just a heartbreaking loss, but there will be, of course, fan meets and there will be opportunities. But both of them, Seungha and Insu, basically said, this is it. Like, I don't think I can compete when I get out of the military because I'll be so out of shape. But leaving the door open, at least. We have seen players return, like Kosu, for example, and be able to qualify for this tournament, do decently well. So it's never over till it's over. But our champions here for KDL Drift League, or Kart Rider Drift League, our first preseason, double the money, 40 million won here. KWANGDONGFREECS, they got their championship shirts on because they have done it for the first time, taking home that big check, all in the notoriety of being the best team in Kart Rider Drift.
And they have absolutely proven that here today. No one can disprove that now. KWANGDONGFREECS is the team to beat in Kart Rider Drift.
A team that has done it without an item ace, a team that's done it with such a robust coaching staff, such quick improvements. And you can see the fans are proud. Definitely not the fan favorites tonight, but they showed everybody that it's not just a world of SANDBOX. It's not Hyunsu's world. Tonight, this stage belongs to the Freaks, and they have earned that title. And whether it stays in the record books or not, they are definitely going to be remembered for it. Now, Preseason 2, our opening day is going to be on Saturday, June 17th. So don't miss it, 6 p.m., same time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peter, it's been a pleasure casting this tournament with you. Shoutouts, of course, to William and State for all of their commentary this season and their solo match finals cast yesterday. One last congratulations to our Team League finalists and champions, KWANGDONGFREECS, and we'll see you guys in Preseason 2.
처음에는 아예 적응조차 못할 것 같이 생각이 들었는데 시간이 지나다 보니 어떻게 플레이를 해야 될지도 플레이 방식도 바뀐 것도 모두 적응이 끝난 것 같아요.
초반에 아쉬운 경기력을 보여줘서 그 점이 아쉬웠지만 그래도 후반에 대회에서 어떻게 해야 될지 느낌을 받은 것 같아서 알아가는 시즌이었던 것 같아요.
이번 시즌 커리어 하이 5위로 마무리를 지었는데요. 마지막 경기 승리를 애결 때문에 고생하던 승민이가 이겨서 더 행복한 것 같습니다.
처음 이제 출전하자마자 포스트 시즌 진출에 성공해서 저는 그것만으로도 너무 만족하고요. 다음 시즌에도 발전할 수 있도록 많은 노력하도록 하겠습니다.
대회를 개인전만 한다는 것 자체가 되게 몇 년 만이기도 했고 팀이나 합숙 생활 없이 혼자서 연습했던 시간이 너무 오랜만이라 생소했었는데 여러 번 이제 팬분들께 얼굴을 비쳤다는 점에서 뜻깊었던 개인전 시즌이었던 것 같습니다.
KDL을 마무리하고 나서 많은 생각이 드는데 적응도 힘들었지만 리그에서 팬분들께 좋은 모습을 보여드린 것 같아서 좀 뿌듯하고 인수형 승환이랑 하는 마지막 리그여가지고 좀 더 뜻깊었던 프리시즌 1이었던 것 같습니다.
제일 기억에 남았던 경기는 아무래도 센세이션과의 애결패 그 경기가 아닌가. 패배를 하고 나니까 더 잘하고 싶다? 지기 싫다라는 욕구도 들고 더 열심히 할 수 있었던 터닝 포인트가 아닌가.
센세이션전과 이제 3세트 문호준 선수와 에이스 결정전 제가 승리하는 경기였는데 많이 짜릿했던 것 같아요.
결승 진출전 때 스피드가 끝나는 상황이었어가지고 기적적으로 그 판을 이겨가지고 흐름을 가져오지 않았나.
프로팀을 한번 이어보고 싶다는 생각도 했었는데 광동 프릭스 경기에서 아이템을 이기고 오늘은 꿈을 이룰 수 있겠구나라고 생각했는데 마지막에 아쉽게 져서 기억에 남는 것 같아요.
응원 열창해주시는 분들 정말 감사드리고 다음 시즌도 준비 잘해서 돌아오도록 하겠습니다.
저희 팬분들 덕분에 더 성장할 수 있다고 생각을 합니다.
이번 시즌은 좀 아쉽게 마무리가 됐지만 저를 응원해주시는 많은 팬분들 끝까지 열심히 봐주시고 응원해주시면 감사하겠습니다.
정말 여러분들의 응원, 관심 덕분에 살면서 경험해보지 못할 경험을 하고 있었으니까 감사하다는 말씀 전해드리고 싶어요. 앞으로 저 박인수도 많이 응원 부탁드리겠습니다. 감사합니다. 안녕.